That money belongs to my son. I'm taking him home today.
You abandoned him before he was born.
He is not his father. I am.
No, you! You signed away your legal parental rights when Marcus adopted Caleb, and the trust specifically permits you from receiving $1.
Mom, is that the man who said he never wanted me?
Mom, is that the man who said he never wanted me? My 7-year-old son's question silenced the entire conference room. Jason Cole had entered less than a minute earlier, shouting that he was Caleb's father and that he intended to take him home. Now he stood at the opposite end of the polished mahogany table, staring at the child he had never bothered to meet. My name is Emma Reed. When Jason abandoned me, I was 25 years old and 6 months pregnant. When he returned, I was 32, remarried and raising a little boy who had just inherited $28 million. Jason did not come back because he missed Caleb. He came back because he saw our son's photograph beneath a newspaper headline. Local construction founder leaves fortune to 7-year-old grandson. Jason arrived at our attorney's office the following morning. He did not request an appointment. He did not ask whether Caleb wanted to see him. He pushed through the conference room doors wearing a charcoal suit, an expensive watch, and the same confident expression he had worn while walking out of our apartment 7 years earlier. He threw the newspaper onto the table. "That money belongs to my son," he shouted. "I'm taking him home today." I stood immediately and stepped in front of Caleb. "You abandoned him before he was born." Jason pointed toward Marcus, my husband. "He is not Caleb's father. I am." Marcus did not shout. He simply moved closer to our son and rested a protective hand on his shoulder. Attorney Rebecca Stone removed her glasses. Rebecca had managed my father's estate for nearly 15 years. She was calm, precise, and almost impossible to intimidate. "Mr. Cole," she said, "you need to lower your voice." Jason laughed. "You work for my son now. I suggest you remember that." Rebecca opened a legal folder. "No, Mr. Cole. I represent the independent trustee responsible for protecting Caleb's inheritance." "From whom?" Rebecca looked directly at him. "People who believe knowing his name gives them ownership of his money." Jason's face darkened. "I am his biological father." "You were his biological father? What is that supposed to mean?" Rebecca slid a certified document across the table. It was the final adoption decree issued 4 years earlier. Marcus Lane was Caleb's legal father. Jason Cole was not. Jason stared at the court seal. "This means nothing. It means you voluntarily consented to the adoption," Rebecca replied. "You appeared before a family court judge, confirmed that you understood the consequences, and permanently surrendered your parental rights." Jason pushed the document away. I was pressured. I almost laughed. No one had pressured him. He had pressured us. When Marcus asked to adopt Caleb, Jason demanded that I stop pursuing years of unpaid child support before he would even consider signing. I refused at first. Then our attorney explained that the adoption would give Caleb legal stability, inheritance protection, health insurance rights, and a father who could make emergency decisions for him. Jason had already missed every birthday. He had never sent a card. He had never called. He had never asked for a photograph. I agreed to a court-approved settlement regarding part of the support arrears. Jason appeared at the hearing with his own attorney. The judge questioned him carefully. "Do you understand that once this adoption is finalized, you will no longer be the child's legal parent?" "Yes," Jason had answered. "Do you understand that you will have no automatic right to custody, visitation, medical decisions, school records, or inheritance through the child?" "Yes." "Is anyone threatening or forcing you to consent?" "No." "Do you believe this adoption is in the child's best interests?" Jason had not hesitated. "Yes." Now he stood in Rebecca's office and claimed the document meant nothing. Rebecca opened another folder. "Your testimony was recorded." Jason looked at me. "You planned this?" "No," I said. "We were handling my father's estate when you forced your way into the meeting." His eyes moved toward the framed photograph on the wall. "My father, Victor Reed, stood beside Caleb at a construction site. Both wore yellow safety helmets. Caleb was holding a rolled set of blueprints upside down. Jason stared at it. Victor hated you." The words still hurt, even though my father was dead. "He hated that I married you," I replied. "That is not what you told me. I did not owe you the details of our reconciliation." Victor Reed founded Reed Infrastructure with 1 truck, 2 employees, and money borrowed against my grandparents' home. By the time I was born, the company built bridges, hospitals, and public transportation projects across 5 states. My father was respected, feared, and extremely wealthy. He was also controlling. When I told him I planned to marry Jason, he ordered me to end the relationship. Jason was charming in public, but had already begun isolating me from my friends. My father noticed it before I did. "He likes access more than he likes you," Dad warned me. "He asks more questions about the company than he asks about your life." I accused my father of judging Jason because he did not come from money. Dad said that poverty did not bother him. Entitlement did. I married Jason anyway. My father did not attend the wedding. For 3 years, we barely spoke. Jason initially claimed he did not care. Then he began asking whether my father had changed his will. He wanted to know how much the company was worth. He suggested that we have a child because a grandson might soften Victor's heart. I believed Jason wanted a family. I did not yet understand that he saw relationships as locked doors and children as possible keys. When I became pregnant, Jason's first reaction was excitement. His second was calculation. "Have you told your father?" he asked. "No." "You should." "I will when I'm ready." He might want to set up a trust. "Our baby is the size of a lime, and you are already discussing money." I'm discussing his future, but Jason was discussing his own. 2 months later, my father still had not contacted us. Jason became impatient. He complained about the cost of the apartment, prenatal care, and preparing for a child. He said I had trapped him in a life he had never wanted. One evening, I came home from work and found half the closet empty. Jason was sitting at the kitchen table with a suitcase beside him. "I cannot do this," he said. I thought he meant the argument we had the night before. Do what? Spend the rest of my life waiting for your father to decide whether we are worthy. This has nothing to do with my father. It has everything to do with him. I placed my hand over my stomach. "We are having a baby. You are having a baby." I stared at him. What does that mean? It means I never agreed to live like this. You asked me to get pregnant. I thought Victor would come around. The truth arrived so clearly that I could barely breathe. You wanted the baby because you thought my father would give us money. Jason stood. I wanted an opportunity. Our son is not an opportunity. He is not even born. But he already deserves better than you. Jason's expression hardened. He told me he was leaving. I begged him to wait until morning. I asked him to attend counseling. I told him I was frightened. He picked up his suitcase. Before walking out, he said, "Do not call me when you go into labor. I don't want to be trapped again." The following morning, I discovered that he had emptied most of our joint savings. He left me $912. Our rent was due in 6 days. Jason filed for divorce immediately. Through his attorney, he questioned whether the baby was biologically his and refused to provide financial support until paternity was confirmed. The court ordered testing after Caleb was born. The result established Jason's paternity with near certainty. He still did not visit. The judge ordered child support. Jason changed jobs, moved across state lines, and avoided enforcement for almost 2 years. During that time, I worked as an administrative assistant during the day and processed insurance claims from home at night. I sold my wedding ring to pay for Caleb's crib. I slept on a mattress on the floor because the apartment could not fit both a bed and baby furniture. When Caleb was born, the nurse asked whether someone was coming to drive us home. I said my friend Hannah would arrive after work. The nurse looked toward the empty chair beside my bed. "His father? He isn't coming." I said it calmly because I did not want pity, but after she left, I held Caleb and cried against his blanket. I was not crying because Jason had abandoned me. I was crying because one day I would have to explain why he had abandoned our son. My father learned about the birth from a former employee who saw a photograph online. Victor arrived at my apartment 3 weeks later. I opened the door and found him standing in the hallway holding an enormous stuffed bear. It was so large that it blocked half his face. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he looked at the dark circles beneath my eyes and the unpaid electric bill on the counter. "Where is your husband?" "Gone." "When is he coming back?" "He isn't." My father stepped inside. He saw the mattress on the floor. He saw the nearly empty refrigerator. He looked toward the bassinet. His anger disappeared. "May I see him?" I lifted Caleb carefully. Dad stared at his grandson. "He has your mother's nose," he whispered. My mother had died when I was 16. It was the first time my father and I cried together since her funeral. Dad offered to move us into his house. I refused. He offered money. I refused that too. "You are punishing the wrong person," he said. "I'm not punishing you. I need to know that I can care for my son without becoming controlled by another man." My father flinched. He understood. Instead of arguing, he began showing up. He brought groceries, but allowed me to pay him a small amount, so it did not feel like charity. He watched Caleb while I worked. He repaired the broken window. He attended pediatric appointments. He apologized slowly, not with speeches, but with consistency. When Caleb was 9 months old, I met Marcus Lane. Marcus was a pediatric nurse practitioner at the community clinic where I took Caleb for an ear infection. He was patient with Caleb and respectful toward me. He did not flirt during the appointment. He did not ask for my number. 3 months later, we met again at a neighborhood charity event. Marcus remembered Caleb's name. He also remembered that I preferred coffee without sugar. We became friends before we began dating. I told him everything about Jason before our first real dinner. Marcus listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "I am not asking to replace anyone. I only want to know whether there is room in your life for me." There was. Marcus never tried to purchase our trust with gifts. He earned it through small moments. He learned how Caleb liked his sandwiches cut. He sat beside his bed during thunderstorms. He carried him through the emergency room when he broke his wrist. When Caleb was 3, he began calling Marcus Dad without being prompted. Marcus cried privately in the laundry room because he did not want Caleb to feel responsible for his emotions. We married 6 months later. Jason learned about the marriage when child support enforcement finally located him. He called me for the first time in nearly 4 years. You sent the government after me. You owe your son more than $40,000. I told you I didn't want involvement. Child support is not a participation fee. He laughed bitterly. If your new husband wants to play father, let him pay. Marcus heard the conversation. Afterward, he asked whether I had considered adoption. I had. But I was afraid Jason would use the process to re-enter Caleb's life only to hurt him. Our attorney contacted Jason. At first, he refused. Then he realized adoption would terminate future support obligations. He became interested. He demanded that I waive a portion of the arrears. He also wanted reimbursement for legal fees and the furniture he claimed I kept after our separation. The judge refused several demands. Eventually, a lawful settlement was reached. Jason remained responsible for part of the unpaid support, but he consented to the adoption and ended future obligations. The judge asked whether he wanted time to reconsider. Jason said no. Have you met the child? The judge asked. No. Do you want to? No. I was sitting 10 feet away when he said it. He knew I could hear. I believe that was why he said it so clearly. Marcus adopted Caleb 1 month later. After the hearing, Caleb asked, "Are you my forever dad now?" Marcus knelt in front of him. I was planning to be your forever dad before the judge signed anything. Caleb wrapped both arms around his neck. My father stood behind them, wiping his eyes. For the next 4 years, life became peaceful. Dad remained involved but respected our boundaries. He and Caleb developed a relationship built around construction projects, astronomy, and pancakes shaped like animals. Caleb loved visiting Reed infrastructure sites. Dad bought him a child-sized helmet and explained how bridges carried weight. When people build something important, he told him, they must think about everyone who will depend on it. I did not know Dad was also describing the trust he intended to create. Victor was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer shortly before Caleb's 7th birthday. The doctors estimated that he had less than a year. He lived for 4 months. During his final week, I sat beside his bed while he slept. When he woke, he asked whether I still believed he had been right about Jason. Yes, I said. He shook his head. I was right about the man, and wrong about the way I treated my daughter. I took his hand. We lost years. I know. I don't want Caleb inheriting our mistakes. He won't. Dad had already revised his estate plan. He left a modest direct inheritance to me, several charitable gifts, and company shares to senior employees. The largest portion of his personal estate went into an irrevocable trust for Caleb. The trust was worth approximately $28 million. But Caleb did not receive $28 million in cash. Rebecca Stone and a professional trust company controlled the assets until he reached specific ages. The trust could pay for education, healthcare, housing, security, and opportunities that served Caleb's best interests. Neither Marcus nor I could withdraw money for ourselves. Caleb would receive limited control as an adult only after completing financial education. My father had also included what Rebecca called the protective person provision. It identified individuals who could not manage, borrow from, receive distributions from, or use Caleb's trust as collateral. Jason's name appeared at the top. The provision included evidence of abandonment, unpaid support, the adoption decree, and Jason's courtroom statement that he did not want to meet Caleb. Dad had prepared for exactly what happened next. His obituary was published on Monday. The newspaper article about the trust appeared Thursday. Jason arrived Friday morning. After Rebecca showed him the adoption decree, he accused us of manipulating him. I consented because Emma said Marcus wanted to adopt, he argued. No one told me the child might become wealthy. Rebecca stared at him. Would the possibility of money have changed whether you wanted to be his father? Jason realized too late what he had admitted. That is not what I meant. It is precisely what you meant. He looked toward Caleb. Come here, son. Caleb moved behind Marcus. My name is Caleb. I know your name. Then why didn't you know me? Jason looked at me. You have poisoned him against me. I never needed to, I said. Your absence explained itself. Jason stepped around the table. Marcus immediately blocked him. Do not approach him. You are not his real father. Marcus remained calm. I changed his diapers, attended his school meetings, held him through nightmares, and legally adopted him. Which part seems unreal to you? The DNA. DNA did not stay awake when he had pneumonia. Jason clenched his jaw. I have rights. Rebecca tapped the adoption decree. You have none. I can challenge it. You may attempt to challenge it. But before you do, read page 73 of the trust. She turned the document toward him. My father's protective provision stated that any restricted person who initiated legal action intended to obtain control of Caleb or his inheritance would trigger an enhanced defense clause. The trustee would immediately fund independent legal representation, child security, forensic financial investigation, and recovery of all costs from any inheritance or financial interest the challenger might otherwise claim against Victor's estate. Jason had no inheritance from my father, but the clause also authorized the trustee to pursue unpaid obligations, fraudulent claims, harassment damages, and any attempt to exploit Caleb's identity. Jason read it twice. This is intimidation. It is protection, Rebecca replied. I am asking for a relationship with my child. You entered the room demanding control of his money. I said I was taking him home. You do not know where his home is. Jason looked toward me. Emma, we should talk privately. No. We were married. We are not anymore. You know, I would never hurt him. You already did. He was not born when I left. He was alive. Jason's new wife was waiting outside the office. Her name was Vanessa. She entered after hearing the shouting. She was younger than Jason, elegantly dressed and visibly irritated. Jason, this was supposed to be a discussion, she said. Rebecca looked at her. And you are? His wife. Do you have a legal role regarding Caleb? No, but this situation affects our family. I noticed her use of the word family, not Caleb's family. Her family. Vanessa placed a hand on Jason's arm. We have prepared a home for him. My stomach tightened. You prepared a room for a child Jason had never mentioned until 3 days ago? Vanessa's expression shifted. We have been discussing this privately for years. Rebecca opened another folder. That is interesting. She placed printed financial documents on the table. 2 days after the newspaper article, Jason and Vanessa contacted a private wealth management firm. They presented Caleb's inheritance as an expected family asset. They requested information about borrowing against future trust distributions. The advisor refused and notified Rebecca because the trust's name appeared in their paperwork. Jason's face turned red. That consultation was confidential. You provided a trust document that did not belong to you. Vanessa looked at him. You said the loan was already approved. Marcus moved Caleb toward the far end of the room. I could see our son listening, even though he did not understand every word. Rebecca continued. You also contacted a private school and stated that Caleb would soon live with you. Jason pointed at me. Because I believed his mother would act reasonably. Reasonably means surrendering my son to a stranger. I am not a stranger. Caleb spoke quietly. You are to me. Jason finally looked ashamed, but shame did not stop him. He filed a petition 5 days later. He claimed that his consent to the adoption had been obtained through fraud because I failed to disclose Caleb's potential inheritance. The argument made no legal or moral sense. When Jason consented, my father was healthy and had not revealed his estate plans. More importantly, a child's possible future wealth had nothing to do with whether an adoption served the child's interests. Jason also accused Marcus and me of parental alienation. He claimed we had deliberately prevented him from forming a relationship with Caleb. Our attorney submitted every email, court filing, support enforcement notice, and recorded adoption hearing. Jason had not been prevented from parenting. He had repeatedly rejected the opportunity. The court appointed a guardian ad litem to represent Caleb's interests. Her name was Denise Harper. She interviewed me, Marcus, Jason, teachers, doctors, neighbors, and Rebecca. She met Caleb several times without us in the room. During one meeting, she asked him what he understood about Jason. He helped make me before I was born, Caleb said. Do you consider him your father? I don't know him. Would you like to? Caleb thought carefully. Does he want to know me if I don't have the money? Denise later said, that question shaped her entire recommendation. While the custody challenge continued, Jason began posting online. He said a wealthy family had stolen his son. He described himself as a working-class father fighting a powerful corporation. He did not mention that he had abandoned me. He did not mention unpaid support. He did not mention the adoption. Thousands of strangers believed him. Some sent threatening messages to my workplace. Someone posted Caleb's school address. The trustee hired security and temporarily moved us to another property. Caleb could not understand why he had to leave his classroom. Did I do something wrong? He asked. No. So, is it because Grandpa gave me money? It is because adults are behaving badly around the money. Can I give it back? His question broke my heart. You should never have to give away something just to make other people treat you safely. I liked my old life. So did I. Marcus sat beside him. The money did not change our family, it changed everything else. Marcus nodded. That is why your grandfather put responsible people in charge until you are older. Can Dad Jason take me? No, I said. Caleb looked at Marcus. Can Dad Marcus stop him? Marcus answered carefully. A judge will decide what legal protection is needed. but your mother and I will never stop protecting you. Jason's public campaign damaged his case. The judge issued an order prohibiting both sides from discussing Caleb publicly. Marcus and I had never posted about the dispute. Jason violated the order within 12 hours. He uploaded a video from outside the courthouse and said, "No billionaire's paperwork can erase a biological father." The judge ordered him to remove it and impose sanctions. Then Rebecca's financial investigators discovered something worse. Jason owed more than $600,000 to business partners and private lenders. His marketing company was collapsing. He had used fake revenue statements to obtain credit. Several months before learning about Caleb's inheritance, he had personally guaranteed a commercial loan. The lender was preparing to seize his home. Jason did not return because fatherhood had awakened inside him. He returned because bankruptcy was approaching. Vanessa eventually admitted that Jason told her controlling Caleb's trust would solve their financial problems. She said she believed parents automatically managed a minor child's inheritance. Jason assured her that once he became Caleb's legal guardian, they could purchase a larger home, repay business debts, and charge family expenses to the trust. Rebecca asked Vanessa whether Jason ever discussed Caleb's personality. Vanessa said no. His school? No. His health? No. His interests? No. The only detail Jason knew was the estimated value of the trust. Vanessa moved out before the hearing. She provided messages in which Jason wrote, "Once I get custody, the trustee will have to negotiate." Another message said, "He is 7. He will believe whatever I tell him about his mother." The court hearing lasted 4 days. Jason's attorney argued that people could change. That was true, but nothing in Jason's behavior demonstrated change. He had not requested a gradual introduction. He had demanded immediate custody. He had not asked how Caleb was coping with his grandfather's death. He had asked when trust distributions began. He had not offered to pay his remaining support debt. He had spent money hiring public relations consultants to attack me when I testified. Jason's attorney asked whether I hated my former husband. No. Do you forgive him? That is not relevant to whether he should control Caleb. Would you agree that Jason was young when he left? He was 29. People make mistakes. Abandonment was not one mistake. It was a decision he repeated every day for 7 years. The attorney asked whether Marcus had replaced Jason. Marcus did not replace anyone, I said. He filled a space Jason chose to leave empty. Marcus testified next. He described meeting Caleb, marrying me, and completing the adoption. Jason's attorney challenged him. You are not biologically connected to this child. No. Does that concern you? No. Why not? Because Caleb is a human being, not a blood sample. You benefited from his inheritance. Marcus looked toward the judge. My wife and I cannot access the trust for personal expenses. Our mortgage, vehicles, vacations, and household costs are paid from our salaries. But the trust pays for Caleb. The trust has paid for additional security made necessary by Mr. Cole's public campaign. Jason shifted uncomfortably. Denise Harper submitted her report. She recommended that the adoption remain untouched, that Jason receive no custody or decision-making rights, and that there be no direct contact until Caleb was older or independently requested it through a therapist. Her report included Caleb's words. I don't want to be practiced for a man who decided to become my father after reading a number in the newspaper, Jason cried when the statement was read. For a moment, I felt pity. Then I remembered Caleb, packing his favorite toys because strangers knew where he attended school. The judge delivered her ruling the following week. She found no fraud in the adoption. Jason had received independent legal advice. He understood the consequences. His claim that he would have refused consent if he had known Caleb might inherit money only proved that his current interest was financially motivated. The adoption remained final. Marcus remained Caleb's only legal father. Jason received no custody, visitation, financial authority, school access, medical information, or right to contact Caleb directly. The protective order remained in place. The court also referred Jason's financial representations to investigators because he had described the trust as his asset while applying for credit. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded him. This time, he did not shout. He looked toward me and said, "Can I speak to Caleb for 1 minute?" "No." "Please." He heard enough in court. "Tell him I am sorry." "One day, you may have the opportunity to tell him yourself, but that will happen only if Caleb wants it and professionals believe it is safe." Jason nodded. What am I supposed to do until then? Become someone he would not need protection from. Jason's company failed 3 months later. He filed for bankruptcy. Vanessa divorced him. Investigators charged him with making false statements connected to 2 business loans. He avoided prison, but received probation, financial monitoring, and community service. For the first time in his adult life, Jason could not charm, threaten, or borrow his way out of consequences. He began sending letters to a secure address managed by Caleb's therapist. The therapist stored them without giving them to Caleb. Jason was not permitted to request answers. His first letters contained excuses. He said he had been frightened. He said my father had intimidated him. He said he was too young for responsibility. The therapist told him to stop explaining and begin accepting. His later letters changed. I abandoned your mother because I believe marriage should improve my status. I refused to meet you because responsibility did not benefit me. I returned when I believed your money could rescue me. None of those decisions were your fault. I did not show the letter to Caleb until he was 11. By then, he understood more about the trust and the legal dispute. He read Jason's words twice. Do I have to forgive him? He asked. No. Will I become bad if I don't? No. Do you forgive him? I stopped carrying anger for him. That does not mean I trust him. Caleb placed the letter inside its envelope. I want to write back. What do you want to say? I want to ask what my favorite planet is. I understood immediately. Caleb wanted to discover whether Jason had learned anything about him during the years he spent writing letters. His favorite planet was Saturn. Jason replied 2 weeks later. I do not know. I could guess, but that would be another way of pretending I know you when I do not. I hope one day you will tell me. Caleb respected the honesty. He did not request a meeting, but he began exchanging supervised letters. Jason learned that Caleb loved astronomy, disliked tomatoes, played the piano badly but enthusiastically, and became anxious when adults shouted Jason never asked about the trust. When Caleb was 13, he requested a video call. Marcus and I sat nearby, but remained off camera. Jason looked older. His hair had begun turning gray near the temples. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Jason said, I know your favorite planet now. Caleb smiled slightly. What is it? Saturn. Why? Because it looks like it is wearing armor. But the rings are mostly ice and dust. Jason nodded. That sounds like something your grandfather would have appreciated. Caleb's expression changed. You didn't know Grandpa? No, but I know he protected you. He protected me from you. Yes, Jason did not argue. That answer allowed the conversation to continue. They spoke for 20 minutes. Afterward, Caleb said he was not ready to meet in person. Jason accepted it. 2 years later, they met at a therapist's office. Jason did not bring gifts. He did not call himself dad. He did not touch Caleb without permission. He said, Thank you for giving me a chance to meet the person I should have wanted to know before he had anything. Caleb replied, Marcus is my dad. I know. You are. Jason, yes, maybe one day you can be my biological father and not just the man who left. I would be grateful for that. Their relationship developed slowly. There was no dramatic reconciliation. Caleb did not move into Jason's home. He did not replace Marcus. He did not give Jason access to the trust. He offered conversation. Sometimes that was all. The $28 million remained professionally managed. Marcus and I continued working. Caleb attended public school after the security risk ended. He received an allowance based on chores, not trust value. At 16, he began attending the financial education meetings required by my father's estate plan. Rebecca taught him about investments, taxes, philanthropy, and manipulation. Money makes some people honest, she told him. How? They become honest about what they truly want from you. When Caleb turned 18, he used his first discretionary distribution to establish a scholarship for children raised by single parents. He named it the Open Door Scholarship. I asked why. Because you kept our door open when Dad Marcus entered for the right reasons, he said. And you closed it when Jason entered for the wrong ones. Marcus looked away to hide his tears. Jason attended the scholarship ceremony but remained near the back. He congratulated Caleb and left without approaching reporters. Years earlier, he would have tried to stand beside him for the photographs. That night, Caleb asked whether I regretted allowing Jason back into his life. I did not allow him back. I said, You chose a limited relationship when you were old enough to understand the risks. Were you scared? Yes. Why didn't you stop me? Protecting you did not mean controlling every decision forever. Caleb looked toward Marcus. Did it hurt you? Marcus smiled. No one can take my place by learning how to behave better. That was the difference between Marcus and Jason. Marcus never treated love like a position he could lose. Jason had once treated fatherhood like an asset he could claim. The morning Jason returned, he entered Rebecca's conference room, believing biology gave him power. He believed the word father erased 7 years of silence. He believed Caleb's inheritance transformed abandonment into opportunity. But the adoption decree proved that legal fatherhood belonged to Marcus. The trust proved that money could be protected. And Caleb's quiet question exposed the truth more clearly than any document. Is that the man who said he never wanted me? Jason had returned to claim a millionaire son. Instead, he met a child who understood that money was the only reason he had returned. It took Jason years to become something other than that man. Whether he deserved the limited relationship Caleb eventually offered is a question others may answer differently. But I know this. DNA can identify where a child came from. It cannot identify who deserves to stand beside him. Money can attract people who disappeared. It cannot purchase the years they missed. And a man does not become a father by entering a room and shouting that a child belongs to him. A father becomes real through every quiet day he chooses to stay.